Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down 6 really interesting stocks to keep on your radar as we look ahead to 2026. We're going to cover everything from the massive AI trend to the importance of portfolio stability.
All right, let's get right into it. Here's what we've got on tap. First, we'll paint the big picture for the market in 2026. Then, we'll dive into our stock picks, which we've broken down into 3 different groups. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the one key takeaway you'll want to remember.
So before we jump into any specific companies, we've got to understand the world they're living in. So let's set the stage, get a feel for the economic environment. So what's the big economic forecast looking like? Well, think steady, not spectacular. Projections are pointing to real GDP growth hovering right around that 2% mark. It's not flashy, but it's the kind of stable ground we can build on when we go looking for specific growth spots.
But under that calm economic surface, there is a massive tectonic shift happening. The single biggest theme driving everything right now is the incredible amount of money corporations are pouring into AI infrastructure. And let's be clear, this isn't some future pipe dream anymore. It is the reality of our economy right now.
Okay, so how do you get a piece of that action? How do you invest in a shift that big? Well, that brings us to our first and our biggest group of stocks. We're going to look at 4 very different companies, and each one plays a really crucial role in this AI revolution. And we are talking about 4 absolute powerhouses here: Palantir, Micron, TSMC, and NVIDIA. Think of it like this. Each one is a different layer in the AI ecosystem. We've got everything from the software that makes sense of all the data, all the way down to the foundries that are physically making the chips. So first up, we have Palantir, and they're tackling that software layer. Now, they've always been known for their big government contracts, right? But check this out. Their commercial business is where the real story is. It absolutely exploded, up a mind-blowing 121% in the last report. That's the engine that has analysts projecting 47% overall revenue growth for them in 2026. And here's why that commercial growth is so incredibly important. Every company out there is scrambling to use AI. But guess what? They can't do it if they can't make sense of the mountains of data they already have. Palantir's platform is basically the key that unlocks all that data, making it a tool they just can't do without in this new economy. All right, next on our list is Micron Technology. These guys make the super high-performance memory chips that are basically the lifeblood for all those AI data centers. They are riding what a lot of people are calling a historic wave of demand, with their revenue projected to jump about 30% in 2026. This quote right here, it just nails the whole investment idea. See, Micron isn't making some flashy app. They are the bedrock. They are the critical, you gotta have it infrastructure that makes this whole AI thing possible. And playing that fundamental role is exactly why we're seeing that absolutely staggering jump in their profit margins. Let's move on to TSMC, which stands for Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. So simply put, they are the world's #1 foundry. So when a company like Apple or NVIDIA designs some revolutionary new chip, well, TSMC is the company that actually brings it to life. They build it. And that huge number we just saw for their capital expenditure, we're talking between $52 and $56 billion, that is the ultimate proof that they believe this. As the quote says, they are the infrastructure provider. And that's not just talk. That's a massive financial bet, showing they're all in on the idea that AI chip demand is here to stay for the long haul. And finally, of course, we have to talk about the company that's pretty much become the poster child for the AI hardware boom, NVIDIA. Their GPUs, their graphics processing units, they aren't just an option for AI anymore. No, they are the undisputed, absolutely essential hardware you need. Their market position isn't just strong, it is totally dominant. You've probably heard this analogy before, but it just perfectly captures what NVIDIA does. While everyone else is out there prospecting for AI gold, NVIDIA is the one providing the fundamental tools, the picks and shovels, that everybody needs just to get in the game. And that's what makes them a core holding for anyone who wants to be invested in this theme. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time on the high octane growth of the AI world. But a smart portfolio isn't just about playing offense. You need some defense too. And that brings us to our next category, the portfolio stabilizer. For that, we're looking at a financial giant, JP Morgan. I mean, with over $4 trillion in assets, this company isn't a high flyer, it's a fortress. The whole idea here is simple: stability and quality. It gives you consistent earnings and is set to deliver steady, reliable growth. When you have a portfolio with a lot of tech, an anchor like this provides that crucial balance. So now that we've got our rock-solid anchor, let's swing to the complete other end of the risk spectrum. This brings us to our last pick, a high-growth biotech bet. This is a calculated risk for sure, but with some potentially transformative rewards. The company is Exact Sciences. They're in the incredibly important field of cancer diagnostics. Maybe you've heard of their Cologuard test. Now, it is important to note that the company isn't profitable right now, and that's what makes it a risk. But the investment here isn't about today's bottom line. It's a bet on the massive upside if they can succeed in their mission to revolutionize how we detect cancer early. And this slide just lays out the contrast between those two ideas perfectly. On the left, you've got JP Morgan. Consistent profits, steady growth. Basically the dictionary definition of a portfolio anchor. Then on the right, you've got Exact Sciences. Yeah, unprofitable for now, but in a super high growth area with the potential to literally change the world. It's the difference between a solid foundation and a high reward bet on the future of medicine. And you know what? Both can play a really valuable role in a balanced strategy. All right, so we've looked at 6 really different companies, right? From AI hardware and software to banking and biotech. So what does it all mean? What's the big picture takeaway for an investor thinking about 2026? The most important thing to remember is that these picks all represent distinct, deliberate strategies. First, investing in AI isn't just one bet. It's a whole stack with different layers: software, memory, manufacturing, design. Second, it is so important to balance those exciting high growth plays with some quality stabilizing companies. And finally, remember that high risk, high reward areas like biotech can offer a completely different and potentially powerful path to growth. So we'll just leave you with this final thought to chew on. The AI revolution isn't just one thing. It's this entire sprawling ecosystem with so many different ways to get involved. The real question for you as an investor is to figure out which part of that revolution really fits with your own strategy and your own vision for what's to come.